If working harder actually made people rich, then employees would be the wealthiest group in society. But we know that's not how it works, and that's not a coincidence. You've likely felt this. You're disciplined, you're responsible, you show up, and you do the work. But at the end of every month, the math looks hauntingly similar. The paycheck arrives, the bills leave. You manage to tuck a small amount into savings. Then the cycle repeats. Most people assume the problem is spending. Cut more, and budget tighter. Find the leak. But that's not the full picture. The problem isn't always how much you spend. Sometimes it's how your income is built. Here's the idea most people were never taught directly. You aren't playing the game poorly. You're playing a game that wasn't designed for the outcome you're expecting. A salary was designed for stability, not for wealth. That's not a criticism of employment. It's a structural observation. When you accept a salary, you're entering a fixed exchange. You provide consistent output, your time, your skills, your presence, and in return, you receive a consistent input, a fixed amount of money at regular intervals. That agreement is reliable. It's predictable. For a lot of people, it's necessary. But reliable and wealth building are two different things. Working harder inside a salary structure almost never multiplies your income. You might earn more over time, but the way you earn rarely changes. This is what's called linear income. You trade time, you receive money. The two are directly linked. When you stop trading time, on weekends, on holidays, during illness, the income stops too. That link is the first thing worth understanding. There are three mechanics that explain why this structure stalls financial progress. Each one is worth looking at separately. The first is the income ceiling. In most salary structures, there's a ceiling. Not always visible, not always stated directly, but it exists. You can negotiate, you can perform well, you can climb. But inside a single salary track, your income is tied to what the market pays for your role and what your employer is willing to offer within that range. Here's the first hidden rule of salaries. The income ceiling often has less to do with how good you are at your job and more to do with how the job itself is categorized. Two people, similar skills, different income structures, all completely different financial trajectories over a decade. You might think a promotion is the answer. Work harder, earn the raise, move up the ladder. But the ladder itself has limits, and climbing faster doesn't change where it's anchored. The second mechanic is time dependency. Salary income requires your continued participation. Every unit of money is tied to a unit of your time. This creates a hard ceiling on income potential. There are only so many hours available, and those hours carry costs, energy, attention, health. The income you earn isn't passive. It doesn't compound on its own. It doesn't scale. When you work, you earn. When you don't, you don't. That's not inherently a problem, but it becomes one when time dependency is the only income mechanic in your life. The third mechanic is the tax structure. In almost every modern economy, earned income, the money that comes from your salary, is taxed at the highest rate. As you work harder and earn more, you move into higher brackets. Before you see the money, before you can deploy it, a portion is already gone. Other forms of income, from ownership, from assets, from business structures, are often treated differently by tax systems. Not hidden, not a loophole, just structured differently from the start. The third trap isn't that you're paying taxes. It's that salary earners typically have the fewest options for how their income gets classified before it reaches them. So, three mechanics: income ceiling, time dependency, tax classification. If a salary isn't designed for wealth, what actually is? The real escape from this system isn't what most people think. It's not about finding a better job or a higher salary. It's about changing the nature of your income entirely. The shift is from earned income to leveraged income Unleveraged income doesn't mean passive income in the popular sense, where money appears with no effort involved. That framing oversimplifies the work behind it. What it means more accurately is income that isn't directly proportional to the hours you put in at the time of earning. Wealth is built when you start to decouple your income from your time. This happens through ownership. When you own a skill that can be turned into a product, a course, a system, a piece of software, that output can reach more than one person without requiring more of your time for each transaction. When you own a stake in something, a business, an asset, an equity position, that ownership can generate returns without requiring your continued presence. In the salary structure, 1 unit of effort produces 1 unit of reward. In a leverage structure, 1 unit of effort can produce multiples, because the output scales in a way your time cannot. Now, none of these are shortcuts. Each one requires real work, real capital, or real risk at some point. But the structural difference is meaningful over time. Here's something worth saying clearly. A salary is not the enemy. For most people, a salary is the essential foundation. It pays the rent. It covers the basics. It provides the breathing room necessary to think and plan. The mistake isn't having a salary. The mistake is making the salary your only engine. If your salary is your only source of income, you are one layoff, one illness, or one restructuring away from a complete standstill. That's not a personal failure. It's a design risk. Think of it this way: one engine, steady, reliable, running now. A second engine, small at first, but growing alongside it. The goal isn't to shut down the first engine. It's to build the second one while the first is still running. Most people abandon that process early because the initial returns are small. The salary trap, then, isn't only a structural problem. It's also a patience problem. So let's bring this together. The question isn't how hard you're working. Most people in this position are working hard. That part has never been the issue. The question is how your income is structured. Does it have a ceiling? Is it fully time dependent? Is it taxed at the first point of entry with no flexibility in how it's classified? If the answer to all three is yes, the salary is doing exactly what it was built to do: provide stability, not build wealth. The adjustment isn't to quit, it's to add. Add a second structure, even a small one. Add income that isn't fully tied to your time. Add an ownership element, however modest, alongside the salary that's already there. Income builds survival. Ownership builds wealth. That reframe is where the financial shift starts, not in the size of the paycheck, but in the shape of the income. Most people aren't in financial difficulty because they don't work hard. They're in financial difficulty because they only earn one way. One income type, one structure, one ceiling. That's not a personal failure. It's a design outcome. And once you see the design clearly, you can start building around it. That's usually when the real work begins.